I never thought I'd be that ex-wife, the bitter one, the one who stalks her ex-husband's social media, the one who fights over every dollar of child support. But here I am, sitting in my car outside the courthouse, trying to calm my shaking hands before I walk in. 3 years ago, I was Lauren Mitchell, happily married mother of two beautiful children, Emma and Liam, living in our suburban dream home in Connecticut. Now I'm Lauren Adams again, working two jobs, living in a cramped apartment, and about to face my ex-husband in court for the third time this year. Donna, Mom, are you okay? Emma asks from the back seat, her 13-year-old face showing concern far beyond her years. Beside her, 9-year-old Liam fidgets with his tablet, pretending not to listen. I'm fine, sweetie, I say, forcing a smile, just thinking about what I need to say in there. What I need to say? What can you say to a judge that will make them understand that your ex-husband, who presents himself as nearly destitute in court, is actually living a life of luxury while your children wear hand-me-downs and you skip meals to make ends meet? I check my phone one more time, scrolling through the photos I've collected over the past 6 months. Mark's new girlfriend, Amber, isn't exactly subtle on social media, and thank God for that. Because without her constant need to document their extravagant lifestyle, I would never have discovered the truth. The truth that's about to blow up Mark's carefully constructed facade. I take a deep breath, tuck my phone into my purse, and turn to my children. Mrs. Wilson will be here any minute to take you guys to her house while I'm in court. Be good, okay? Is Dad gonna be mad again? Liam asks quietly. My heart breaks a little more. This isn't about making Dad mad or happy, buddy. It's about making sure he helps take care of you guys. That's what parents do. As Mrs. Wilson's car pulls up, I hug my children tightly and whisper, I love you both so much. Then I watch them climb into her car, waving until they're out of sight. I check my reflection in the rearview mirror, dark circles under my eyes from working late shifts at the hospital as a nurse, hair pulled back in a simple ponytail, the navy blue dress I bought years ago for job interviews, now slightly worn at the edges. My phone buzzes with a text from my attorney, Diane. I'm inside. Judge Caldwell today. Good courtroom for us. I grab my folder of documents, take one final deep breath, and step out of the car. What Mark doesn't know is that today isn't going to be like our previous court appearances. Today, I have receipts, literal digital receipts, and a 45-foot yacht named Freedom is about to sink him. I met Mark Adams in nursing school. I was studying to become an RN while he was getting his business degree, working part-time as an orderly to pay tuition. He was charming, ambitious, and so attentive. We married a year after graduation, and I supported us while he launched his medical equipment supply company. Those early years were tough but happy. We lived in a tiny apartment, counted every penny, and dreamed about our future. When his business finally took off, we bought our house, started our family, and I cut back to part-time nursing to raise Emma and Liam. Looking back, I should have seen the warning signs. As Mark's success grew, so did his absence from our family life, business dinners, weekend conferences, late nights at the office that smelled suspiciously of expensive cologne and whiskey when he finally came home. The market's competitive, Lauren, he'd say whenever I questioned the hours he was putting in. Do you want to go back to eating ramen in that one-bedroom apartment? Of course I did. I wanted stability for our children. I wanted the life we'd worked so hard to build. So I swallowed my concerns and focused on making our home perfect, on raising our children, on being the supportive wife of a successful businessman. Until the day I found the texts. I wasn't snooping. I swear I wasn't. Mark had asked me to find an email confirmation for a flight while he was in the shower, but when I opened his email app, a text notification popped up from someone named A. Can't wait to feel your hands on me again. Last night was amazing, missing you already. My world collapsed in an instant. The bathroom door opened, and Mark stepped out, towel around his waist, hair still wet. Did you find it? He asked casually. I held up the phone, my hand trembling. Who's A? His face changed so quickly, from confusion to recognition to anger in the span of seconds. He didn't deny it, didn't even try. Instead, he snatched the phone from my hand and said words I'll never forget. This has been a long time coming, Lauren. We both know it. We... What? Look at yourself, he said, gesturing at me in my yoga pants and oversized sweater, hair in a messy bun. You stopped trying years ago. You're not the woman I married. I stood there, stunned into silence, as he dressed quickly and left the house. Just like that, as if 13 years of marriage and 2 children could be discarded because I wore comfortable clothes at home. When he returned 2 days later, it was with divorce papers and a lawyer. He wanted to be generous. I could keep the house if I bought out his half. He'd pay the state minimum child support. He'd allow me visitation with his children every other weekend. Allow me? They're my children too, I had protested. But my name is on everything, Lauren, he replied coldly. The house, the cars, the bank accounts. You've been a part-time nurse for a decade. How will you support them without me? It was in that moment I realized the man I married was gone, if he had ever existed at all. The charming, struggling student had been replaced by someone calculating and cruel. Someone who had apparently been planning this exit strategy for years. I got my own lawyer the next day. The divorce was brutal. Mark fought dirty, hiding assets, claiming his business was struggling, even suggesting I was an unfit mother because of my emotional instability after discovering his affair. In the end, I had to sell the house to pay legal fees. The judge awarded joint custody, but with the children primarily living with me. And the child support? $1,800 a month for 2 children, far less than they deserved, but based on the financial disclosure Mark provided, claiming his business was barely breaking even, it was all the judge would order. I'm sorry, Lauren, my attorney had said. Without proof that he's hiding income, this is the best we can do. I moved us into a 2-bedroom apartment across town. I took extra shifts at the hospital. I clipped coupons and shopped sales and learned to stretch every dollar. Meanwhile, Mark moved in with Amber, who I discovered was his 28-year-old marketing director. Her Instagram was full of designer clothes, exotic vacations, and loving selfies with my ex-husband. For the first few months, Mark was actually reliable with child support and visitation. He'd pick up Emma and Liam every other weekend, return them on time, and the support payment would appear in my account on the first of the month. Then things started to change. First, it was a missed weekend because of an important business trip. Then another because Amber had surprised him with concert tickets. The children would come home from their visits with stories about Dad's new boat, Dad's luxury condo, Dad taking Amber shopping for jewelry. And then the support payments became irregular. A week late, 2 weeks late. Eventually I got a text. Business is struggling, can only do half this month, we'll make it up. Half never became whole, and the next month there was another excuse, and another. Meanwhile, Emma needed braces. Liam was growing out of his clothes faster than I could replace them. The refrigerator broke in our apartment, and the landlord took 2 weeks to fix it, spoiling all our food. I tried reasoning with Mark. I sent polite texts, made civil phone calls, even had my lawyer contact his. His response was always the same. The business is struggling. I'm barely staying afloat. I can't squeeze blood from a stone, Lauren. 6 months ago, I filed for a child support enforcement hearing. Mark showed up with his attorney, presented carefully crafted financial statements showing his business was barely profitable, claimed he was living modestly and doing everything he could to meet his obligations. The judge ordered him to catch up on payments within 30 days or face potential contempt charges. That evening, my phone rang. It was Mark, furious. Happy now? You're going to destroy my business with these demands. The kids will have nothing if you keep pushing me. The kids already have nothing from you, Mark, I replied, fighting to keep my voice steady. They need new clothes, dental work, school supplies. I'm telling you I don't have it, he shouted. Maybe if you got a better job instead of working part-time. I work 45 hours a week, Mark. I'm doing everything I can. Not my problem, he said coldly. Figure it out. He hung up, and I sat at my kitchen table, bills spread out before me, and cried for the first time since the divorce was finalized. The next day, as I was scrolling through Facebook mindlessly during my lunch break, a mutual friend's post appeared on my feed. They had been at a yacht club event and tagged several people in their photos, including Amber. I clicked on her profile, which was now private to me, but the tagged photo showed her clearly, standing on the deck of a gleaming white yacht, champagne glass in hand, Mark's arm around her waist as they smiled for the camera. The caption read, "Celebrating our new baby, Mark Adams finally got his dream boat." I stared at that photo for a long time. Then I created a fake Instagram account and began to dig. Creating Jessica Turner, a fictional marketing professional with an interest in luxury lifestyles, was surprisingly easy. Within days, Amber had accepted my follow request, giving me access to her profile filled with carefully filtered glimpses into her life with Mark. What I saw made me physically ill. While I was picking up extra night shifts to cover Liam's asthma medication, Mark and Amber were vacationing in the Bahamas, while Emma wore sneakers with holes because I had to prioritize her orthodontist payments. Mark was showing off his new Rolex, and while I lay awake at night wondering how to afford summer camp for the kids, Mark and Amber were hosting champagne parties on their new yacht, ironically named Freedom. I documented everything: screenshots, dates, locations, estimated costs. I created a spreadsheet comparing the timeline of these expenditures with Mark's repeated claims that he couldn't afford child support. But the most damning evidence came from an unexpected source: Amber herself. She posted a gushing anniversary tribute to Mark. 2 amazing years with the love of my life, from our first secret date to building our empire together. I'm so proud of how we've grown Adams Medical, from a struggling small business to the market leader it is today. $12 million in sales this quarter and growing. Here's to us, babe. $12 million in quarterly sales, while he claimed in court his business was barely breaking even. I immediately sent everything to Diane, my attorney. She was cautiously optimistic, but warned me that social media posts alone might not be enough to prove financial fraud. We need more concrete evidence of his actual income and assets, she explained. These posts show an extravagant lifestyle, but he could claim these are Amber's purchases, not his. Then, as if the universe decided I'd suffered enough, an opportunity fell into my lap. One of the nurses I work with, Jenna, mentioned her husband Tom worked at a marina in Newport. "Mostly rich guys storing their toys," she laughed. "Tom says some of these boats cost more than our house." A wild hunch made me ask, "The Freedom? Have you heard of it?" Jenna's eyes widened. "Yeah, actually. New vessel, some medical supply guy. Tom says he's always bragging about how he—" She stopped suddenly. Wait, isn't your ex in medical supplies? 2 days later, Tom discreetly provided me with copies of Mark's docking fees, maintenance payments, and the purchase agreement for the yacht, all in his name, all paid from his business account. The price tag? $1.2 million. He told everyone at the marina his business is booming, Tom said. Even hired a crew for when he takes clients out. I also discovered something else. The yacht was registered to a shell company, but the paperwork linked it directly to Mark's business, the same business he claimed was struggling. I called Diane immediately. I have what we need. Preparing for the court hearing consumed my every waking moment. Diane and I worked tirelessly, gathering evidence, preparing arguments, anticipating Mark's potential defenses. He'll claim business expenses, Diane warned. Say the yacht is for entertaining clients, that it's a legitimate business asset. And the vacations, the jewelry, the $300 bottles of champagne, research expenses, business trips, networking events. She gave me a grim smile. The wealthy have ways of justifying everything, Lauren. But we were ready for him. Tom from the marina provided statements showing personal use of the yacht far outweighed any business functions. Jenna connected me with another nurse whose husband worked for the state revenue department, who explained how to file a confidential tip about potential tax fraud. Dow. And most importantly, we subpoenaed Mark's actual business records, not just the curated version he had previously presented to the court. The hearing was scheduled for July 15th, 2 weeks before Mark's child support payment failed to arrive altogether. When I texted to ask about it, he responded, "Business has never been worse. Might have to declare bankruptcy. Can't pay anything this month. Might be looking at closing the company." I forwarded the text to Diane, who replied, "Perfect. Keep this. He's digging his own grave." Meanwhile, Emma and Liam were feeling the effects of their father's neglect, not just financially, but emotionally. He had started canceling his weekends with them, always with business excuses. Dad says he's working really hard to keep his company going, Emma told me after a particularly disappointing canceled visit. He says if his business fails, he won't be able to support us at all. I hugged her tightly, fighting back tears of anger. Your dad makes choices, Emma. Supporting your children isn't optional. The night before the hearing, I tucked the kids into bed and promised them things would get better. Then I sat at my kitchen table reviewing all our evidence one last time, when my phone buzzed with an Instagram notification. Amber had posted a news story. Mark surprising her with a weekend getaway to celebrate another record sales month. The video showed them boarding a private helicopter, Mark laughing as he popped champagne, Amber squealing with delight as she showed off a new diamond bracelet. Bien, the timestamp, today, the same day he was supposed to have his visitation with Emma and Liam. I added the video to our evidence file, then closed my laptop and went to bed, finally certain that justice was within reach. Ying. The courtroom was stifling despite the air conditioning. I sat beside Diane, trying to project confidence despite my churning stomach. Mark and his attorney, a slick-looking man in an expensive suit, sat across the aisle, whispering to each other and occasionally casting smug glances in our direction. Mark looked good, tanned, rested, designer suit and new haircut. I could smell his cologne from where I sat, the same brand he used to reserve for special business meetings during our marriage. Judge Caldwell entered and we all rose. She was in her 60s with sharp eyes behind stylish glasses and a reputation for no-nonsense efficiency. "We're here on the matter of Adams versus Adams, petition for child support enforcement and modification," she announced, settling into her chair. "I've reviewed the preliminary filings. Mr. Adams claims financial hardship and inability to meet his current obligations. Miss Adams claims willful withholding of support and requests an increase based on alleged unreported income. Is that an accurate summary? Both attorneys confirmed it was. Mr. Franklin, since your client is the respondent to this petition, would you like to begin? The judge asked Mark's attorney. Mr. Franklin stood, buttoning his jacket. Your Honor, my client has provided complete financial disclosures showing the significant downturn in his business. He's facing potential bankruptcy and has had to make difficult decisions just to keep the doors open. The current support order was based on income he simply no longer has. In fact, we're prepared to counter-petition for a reduction in support. I felt my blood pressure rising as he continued, painting Mark as practically destitute, a struggling businessman doing his best against market forces beyond his control. Furthermore, Franklin continued, we believe this petition is part of an ongoing campaign of harassment by Miss Adams, who seems unable to accept the financial realities of post-divorce life. Mark nodded solemnly beside his attorney, the perfect picture of a beleaguered father being persecuted by his unreasonable ex-wife. When Franklin finished, Diane stood. Your Honor, we have evidence that will directly contradict everything Mr. Franklin just claimed. Mr. Adams has not only misrepresented his financial situation to this court, but he has engaged in a deliberate and calculated scheme to hide assets and income to avoid his obligations to his children. Judge Caldwell raised an eyebrow. Those are serious allegations, Counselor. Yes, Your Honor, and we have serious evidence to support them. What followed was the most satisfying hour of my post-divorce life. Diane methodically presented our evidence: the yacht purchase documents, the marina receipts, the social media posts documenting luxury purchases and vacations, the subpoenaed business records showing the company was far from struggling. In fact, it had seen record growth over the past year. Mark's face grew increasingly red as Diane displayed enlarged photos of him and Amber on the yacht, at exclusive resorts, shopping at high-end stores, all time-stamped during periods when he claimed financial hardship, or even during weekends he had canceled visitation with our children due to work emergencies. Your Honor, Diane said, highlighting a particular bank statement. Mr. Adams transferred $24,000 from his business account to pay for a private helicopter tour of wine country on the exact same day he texted my client that he couldn't afford his $1,800 child support payment. Mark leaned over to whisper urgently to his attorney, who looked increasingly uncomfortable. When it was their turn to respond, Franklin tried to salvage their position. Your Honor, many of these expenditures are legitimate business expenses. The yacht, for instance, is used primarily to entertain clients. Then why is it registered in a shell company rather than directly to the business? Diane interrupted. And why does it have personal living quarters that, according to marina records, Mr. Adams and his girlfriend frequent on weekends? Judge Caldwell held up her hand. I've seen enough, counselors. She turned her gaze directly to Mark. Mr. Adams, in my 20 years on the bench, I have rarely seen such a blatant attempt to mislead the court. These aren't borderline business expenses or accounting disagreements. This appears to be calculated deception. Mark finally spoke up. Your Honor, I can explain. I'm sure you'll try. She cut him off. But first, I'd like to hear from Miss Adams. Surprised, I looked at Diane, who nodded encouragingly. I stood, hands trembling slightly. Miss Adams, Judge Caldwell said kindly, you've been supporting your children essentially on your own, while Mr. Adams enjoys a lavish lifestyle. Tell me, how has this affected your children? I took a deep breath. Emma needed braces that our insurance only partially covered. I had to put the remaining $3,200 on a credit card I'm still paying off. Liam has asthma that requires special medication. Last winter, I had to borrow money from my parents to pay for it when Mark said he couldn't help with extra medical expenses. They've both outgrown their clothes, but we shop at thrift stores while their father buys designer suits. But the worst part isn't even financial. They don't understand why their dad keeps canceling visits, why he tells them he's working so hard when they see photos of him vacationing with his girlfriend. They're old enough to see the disconnect, and it's hurting them deeply. I glanced at Mark, who was staring at the table, jaw clenched. "Thank you, Miss Adams," Judge Caldwell said. "You may be seated." She turned to Mark. "Mr. Adams, do you have anything to say in your defense?" Mark stood slowly. "Your Honor, I admit some of these expenditures may seem excessive, but my business requires me to maintain certain appearances with clients. The economy has been unpredictable, and while we've had some good quarters, I've been reinvesting in the company to ensure long-term stability." "Mr. Adams," the judge interrupted, "are you seriously arguing that a $1.2 million yacht is a necessary business expense while you claim inability to pay $1,800 a month to support your children?" "The yacht was a strategic investment." "Answer my question, Mr. Adams." A long silence filled the courtroom. "No, Your Honor. Based on the evidence presented today, I'm finding you in willful contempt of court for failure to pay ordered child support despite having the means to do so," Judge Caldwell declared. "I'm ordering an immediate audit of all your personal and business finances by a court-appointed forensic accountant at your expense." Mark's face paled. "Furthermore, I'm temporarily modifying the support order to $5,400 per month, triple the current amount, based on the evidence of your actual income and assets. This amount may be adjusted again following the completion of the audit. You will also pay all arrears within 30 days and Miss Adams's attorney fees for this action." Mark started to protest, but his attorney quickly silenced him with a hand on his arm. "One more thing," Judge Caldwell added, looking directly at Mark. "If I find evidence of continuing financial deception after the audit, I will refer this matter to the district attorney for potential criminal charges. Financial fraud in family court cases is not just a civil matter, Mr. Adams." As we left the courtroom, I felt a weight lifting from my shoulders. For the first time in years, I felt seen, heard, vindicated. Mark rushed past us in the hallway, his face a mask of fury. "You'll regret this," he hissed. "I'll appeal. I'll—" "Save it for your forensic audit, Mark," Diane replied coolly. "I'm sure the IRS will be very interested in that struggling business of yours as well." The days following the hearing were surprisingly quiet. Mark didn't call or text, not even to arrange his next visitation with the children. His attorney contacted Diane to request a settlement conference, hoping to avoid court-ordered audit, but the judge denied any modification to her ruling. 3 weeks later, the first increased support payment appeared in my account, along with a lump sum covering all past due amounts. I paid off the credit card I'd been using for emergencies, scheduled Emma's dental follow-up, bought Liam new shoes that actually fit, and for the first time in months, I slept through the night without waking up anxious about money. Oh, meanwhile, Amber's Instagram went conspicuously quiet. The few posts she made no longer featured luxury vacations or expensive gifts. The yacht disappeared from her feed entirely. Through the grapevine, namely Jenna's husband Tom at the marina, I heard Mark had put the Freedom up for sale. "Priced it to move fast," Tom told me. "Word is the IRS is taking a hard look at his business now, too." I didn't feel the satisfaction I expected. Instead, I felt a strange mixture of relief and sadness, not for Mark, but for what our family had become, for the father my children were losing to his own greed and ego. Emma and Liam noticed the changes too. "Dad seems different. Emma commented after their first weekend visit following the hearing. His apartment is smaller, and Amber kept crying in the bathroom. Did he say anything about it? I asked carefully. Just that he's restructuring his finances and things will be back to normal soon. She rolled her eyes in a very teenage way. But he actually played board games with us instead of just giving us his iPad and going to work in his office. So that was kind of nice. Maybe, I thought hopefully, some good would come of this after all. Then, about 2 months after the hearing, while the forensic audit was still ongoing, I received a text from Mark asking to meet for coffee. Just the two of us, no attorneys. I was wary but curious. We arranged to meet at a neutral location, a small cafe halfway between our homes. He was already there when I arrived, sitting at a corner table with 2 coffees. He looked different, thinner, tired, wearing a simple button-down shirt instead of his usual designer clothes. "Thank you for coming," he said as I sat down across from him. "What do you want, Mark?" I asked, not unkindly, but not willing to engage in small talk either. He took a deep breath. "I owe you an apology, a big one." Of all the things I expected him to say, that wasn't on the list. "The audit has been enlightening," he continued, "not just about my finances, but about who I've become." He stared into his coffee cup. Amber left, said she signed up for luxury and success, not scandal and scrutiny. I sipped my coffee, unsure how to respond. "I've been a terrible father," he said quietly, "and a worse ex-husband. I convinced myself I was entitled to enjoy my success while you and the kids." He trailed off, shaking his head. "Why are you telling me this, Mark?" "Because I want to make it right, not just the money. That's the easy part. I want to be a real father to Emma and Liam again. I want us to be able to co-parent without all this." He gestured vaguely, hostility and resentment. You created that hostility," I reminded him. "You chose your lifestyle over your children's needs." "I know." He looked up at me, and I saw genuine pain in his eyes. The audit showed me exactly what I was doing, seeing it all laid out in black and white. The yacht payments next to missed child support, the vacation deposits on days I canceled seeing the kids. It was like seeing myself through someone else's eyes, someone who would despise the person I've become. We talked for over an hour, really talked for the first time since before our divorce. Mark explained that his business had indeed been successful, but he'd been living beyond even his considerable means, trying to impress Amber, competing with other executives, becoming addicted to a lifestyle that kept demanding more. "I was running away from responsibility," he admitted, "from being the person I was when we were struggling together. I thought success meant never having to worry about money again, but instead, I just found more expensive things to worry about." I didn't absolve him. His choices had hurt our children too deeply for easy forgiveness, but I did see something in him I hadn't seen in years: honesty. "So what happens now?" I asked as we prepared to leave. "I've sold the yacht, downsized my apartment, cut expenses everywhere. The audit will be complete next month, and I'll pay whatever the court determines is fair." He hesitated. "But more importantly, I want to rebuild my relationship with Emma and Liam. No more canceled weekends, no more empty promises. I want to be the dad they deserve." "Actions, Mark," I said, "not words. They've heard plenty of words." He nodded. "I know. That's why I'm asking if I can have them this weekend. Not at my place, but to take them camping at Lakeview State Park, the way we used to when they were little. No phones, no distractions, just us." I thought about it. I'll ask them if they want to go. It's their choice. As we walked to our cars, Mark paused. "Lauren?" "Yes." Thank you for fighting for them when I wouldn't. They're lucky to have you. I watched him drive away, not quite ready to trust this apparent transformation, but hopeful, for our children's sake, that it might be real. It's been a year since that courthouse showdown changed everything. The forensic audit was completed 3 months after our coffee meeting, revealing even more hidden assets and income than we initially discovered. The court adjusted Mark's child support obligation again, this time to an amount that truly reflected his income and our children's needs. But the money turned out to be the least important change. Mark did take the kids camping that weekend, and many weekends after. He sold his company for a substantial profit 6 months ago, using part of the proceeds to set up college funds for Emma and Liam. He bought a modest house 15 minutes from our apartment, with bedrooms decorated to each child's tastes and a standing invitation for them to come over anytime, not just on scheduled weekends. We're not friends, Mark and I. Too much has happened for that. But we've become something I never expected. Effective co-parents. We attend school events together, coordinate schedules without drama, and put the children's needs first. Last week, Emma's school held a father-daughter dance. Mark texted me a photo of them together. Emma beaming in a new dress, Mark looking proudly at his daughter. It made me smile instead of triggering the bitterness I would have felt a year ago. Wow. As for me, I've cut back to regular hours at the hospital. I'm sleeping better. The constant anxiety about money has lifted. I've even started dating again, cautiously, keeping it separate from the children for now. Yesterday, I received an unexpected delivery, a small package and envelope. Inside the package was a framed photo of Emma and Liam from their recent school pictures. The envelope contained a card and a legal document. The card read, Lauren, I can never undo the harm I caused, but I want to ensure our children are always protected, no matter what. This is long overdue. Mark. Yeet. The document was a revised trust agreement, naming me as trustee of a substantial account established for Emma and Liam. If anything happened to Mark, they would be financially secure. But what touched me more was the addendum. Mark had voluntarily increased his support payments beyond what the court had ordered, with annual adjustments to account for inflation and growing needs as the children got older. I called him later that evening, after the kids went to bed. You didn't have to do this, I said. Yes, I did, he replied simply. It's still not enough to make up for lost time. His voice sounded different, the arrogance gone, replaced by something resembling the man I had fallen in love with years ago. Amber's engaged to some tech executive now, he added. Saw it on social media. Does that bother you? I asked, genuinely curious. Honestly, no. What bothers me is that I became someone who valued that kind of relationship over my own children's well-being. I don't think I'll ever forgive myself for that. We talked for almost an hour that night, not as ex-spouses with baggage, but as two people united in their love for their children. It's been 3 years since I sent those yacht photos to the court. Emma is 16 now, navigating the complex world of high school with surprising grace. Liam is 12, obsessed with soccer and coding, splitting his time between Mark's house and mine without the tension that once defined our custody transitions. I got my master's degree in nursing administration last year, something I never thought possible in those dark days of financial struggle. Mark came to my graduation ceremony, sitting with Emma and Liam, cheering loudly when I crossed the stage. Oh, last month Mark faced a health scare, a minor heart attack that thankfully caused no permanent damage, but served as a wake-up call. Life's short, Lauren, he told me in the hospital waiting room while the kids were getting snacks. Too short to waste any more of it on resentment. He's right, of course. The anger I carried for so long has gradually dissolved, replaced by something unexpected. Not forgiveness exactly, but acceptance. We can't change our past, but we've both fought to create a better future for our children. Yesterday was Emma's Sweet 16 party. We held it in the backyard of Mark's house. More space for her friends, he insisted. I arrived early to help set up, feeling oddly comfortable moving through the house that could have been mine in another life. In the kitchen, I found Mark studying a photo he kept on the refrigerator. Our family, years ago, on a beach vacation before everything fell apart. All of us smiling, sunburned, and happy, unaware of what lay ahead. We were good once, weren't we? He asked quietly as I entered. Yes, I replied. We were. He nodded, then turned to the party preparations. The moment passed, but something important acknowledged. Later, as Emma blew out her candles, surrounded by friends and family, I caught Mark's eye across the crowd. We shared a look of pride and something like peace, co-conspirators now in the project of raising these amazing young people. That evening, as I was leaving with Liam, who wanted to sleep at my place, Mark walked us to the car. Thank you, he said simply. For what? For not giving up on me as a father, even when I gave up on myself. For fighting for our kids when I wouldn't. He looked at the ground. For sending those yacht photos to the court. I laughed in surprise. You're thanking me for that? It was the wake-up call I needed. He smiled ruefully. Sometimes you have to lose everything to remember what actually matters. I drove home that night with Liam sleeping in the back seat, thinking about the strange journey that brought us here. From bitter exes to something like friends. From financial struggle to stability. From broken family to, well, still broken, but differently. Like a vase repaired with gold filling the cracks, stronger at the places it was once shattered. The yacht that almost sank Mark's facade is long gone, sold to some other executive with something to prove. But what we salvaged from the wreckage turns out to be more valuable. Our dignity, our children's security, and the hard-won wisdom that comes from facing hard truths. I no longer feel like that ex-wife, the bitter one, the resentful one. Instead, I'm simply Lauren Adams, mother of two incredible children, woman standing on her own strength, someone who fought for what was right and won something even more important than a court case. I won my peace. And really, after everything, that's freedom worth more than any yacht could ever be. Thanks for listening to today's story. If this resonated with you or brought up any emotions or similar experiences in your own life, I'd love to hear about it in the comments. Have you ever had to fight for what was rightfully yours? Or perhaps you've experienced a transformation in a difficult relationship like Lauren and Mark's. Don't forget to like this podcast, share it with someone who might need to hear this story, and subscribe to our channel for more real-life dramas that illuminate the complex journey of family, forgiveness, and finding your way forward. Until next time, remember that sometimes the strongest thing you can do is simply fight for what you deserve.